Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema. Sit down, back at the desk, doing some reviews. I haven't had the juice coming out of the theater to do my immediate reactions, and after doing my review for the first episode of season 2 of The Last of Us, I was like, you know what? Some of these movies I've been seeing that I haven't talked about, we should sit down at the desk and give them that long form treatment. And we just talked about The Accountant 2, had a Dolby Early Access screening for that one last night. So much fun. So glad to be back in that world, and it really did pretty much do everything I was looking for. If you want to see all my thoughts on that one, they're right up there. But now we turn our attention to a different type of thriller, one that I think works more in the world of horror thrillers. There aren't really too many horror elements, but it is a rock solid thriller. And when you got Christopher Landon directing, he knows how to inject fun into a thriller better than most. And I must say, I had a pretty fun time the other night. What are we talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair? Take a seat. We are getting ready to dive in spoiler free into Drop. And when I saw the trailer for this movie, I just got excited. One, I really do dig Christopher Landon, what he's given us with Freaky, the Happy Death Day movies. Like, he executes horror elements and weaves them into his movies in top tier ways in certain films, but he also brings more entertainment and more fun to those types of movies than we get to see with a lot of horror flicks. And I think it opens up what he does to a wider audience. And while there aren't too many horror elements in Drop, the type of thriller that I saw in that trailer, I was like, oh, this is going to be a super enjoyable movie. And while he's not on the writing side in this one, he got his writing credits this year in Hard Eyes, which was also a super fun slasher. But you have Jillian Jacobs and Chris Roach on the script here, and I really like what they craft. I think the thing that is strongest with the script is the character of Violet. We really understand who she is, where she comes from, what makes her who she is. And with how they break up her origin story, I think it's structured in a really cool way. Like, we open on seeing something that's happened to her. She was a victim of domestic abuse. And it's a pretty intense scene. And it really sets a bunch of things in play for Violet's character, but we don't see everything. And I really like how they sprinkle the rest of that origin story, so to speak, throughout the course of the movie, because every time we go back, it's then playing with something else that's going on with Violet in that moment or the moment that's coming up. And to kind of see how those cutaways inform things that are coming up or going on in the movie, I just thought really worked in getting a better sense of who this woman is. And you understand that she is someone who really struggled with the things that happened to her. It's been a long time since she's been on a date, but she cares so much about her family. And she has learned a lot about herself kind of coming out of those things, and how it gives her stability when she's probably feeling her weakest are just elements that are in the movie I think are really well executed. And that's the thing on the writing side that makes this thing work, let alone the super unique story idea of having a person on a first date getting drop messages from someone who's threatening to hurt your family if you don't kill the person you're on the date with. And the way Jacobs and Roach layer all of that stuff into this first date, like, we understand she's been stringing this guy along for a while. She's been so hesitant to go out and meet. He's stayed around. Probably a nice dude. You don't want to see anything happen to him. But with the threat of what's going on with her family, she gets pushed. And I think what you get the best in the movie is feeling exactly what she's feeling. Those first date butterflies and jitters, you feel it. You get that anxiety of like, oh man, I'm nervous for you, Violet. And then when you start to kind of start that date, the awkwardness, like, everyone's been on that first date after not dating for a while. And just trying to get into that rhythm to then all of a sudden, boom, have these drops start happening. And now you just aren't anxious about the date. You're anxious about what's going on with your family. You're getting more stressed. You're also trying to figure out what's going on. Like, Fahy's character is put in a spot where she's a puppet and the strings are being pulled by somebody else, and she doesn't like that. It brings her back to that moment with her ex. And how she starts to piece things together, how she sets herself up to pull off some of the things that are being asked of her, but how she is constantly trying to get ahead of it so that she doesn't end up having to kill her date unless she absolutely has to. You are just feeling all of that at all times. And I think that's the stuff that is really strongest with the script. And there are some silly things in there. Like the third act, I think, is a little rocky. And the plane does not land the smoothest of ways. But you're forgiving in those moments because all the other things that have been built around it and the world that we're in are just executed really, really well. And then Chris Landon behind the camera, I think, makes this movie super engaging on a visual end of things. He does some really cool things with the drop messages and how she's communicating with this person in the room. Like, I love seeing when these messages come in and how they actually appear on screen around her. There's one shot where she's in like a bathroom stall trying to figure out what to do next, and the messages and things are coming up like all around her where like they end up covering the walls and she's like surrounded by these messages. There's other times where she's in the bathroom and there are ones that are popping up when the camera's on her and it swings to the back and you're seeing the reflection of the words. Like, it's almost like they are a physical representation inside the world that like maybe Violet is seeing them the way we're seeing them. Really cool stuff. He also plays with lighting in really unique ways. Like, some of the ways he can isolate onto a character by changing the lighting, I thought was really, really cool. Set design here is fantastic. The majority of the movie takes place in this restaurant, and the way it's designed, it's circular, and you have like a room where all the people could be that could theoretically be dropping, and you have the hallway and the main like lobby desk where you can kind of get away from that stuff. And the way it's set up and the way you're able to move in and out and just how he keeps it visually dynamic inside the space was super well executed. And cinematographer Mark Spicer has some really nice setups with the camera and utilizes the space, I think, to his advantage the whole movie. I mean, some of the places that he's able to move the camera around in the room are a lot of fun. How he shoots the date itself is cool because he uses, a couple of one shots. You get the two shot on the wide, and depending on what's going on with Violet, that perspective shifts a little bit. The vibe shifts a little bit, and then he will take the exact same shot and just move it a little bit. And that slight movement or reposition of the camera at times really dials up the anxiety and the stress that's going on for Violet at certain moments. And I just thought Spicer's camera work the whole movie was fantastic. I think there's good sound design here. If you can see this movie in Dolby, it's definitely worthwhile seeing in Dolby. It's cool to kind of be in this movie and in this moment with this woman where you're trying to figure out things the way she is. You're feeling what she's feeling, and then you can hear everything that's going on in the restaurant. Like, it's not one of these where the background noise cuts out so we can focus on our characters. You're constantly reminded by the background noise that you're in a restaurant, that is in public, and there are things that are going on that make it extremely difficult for her to move around, let alone everybody in this room is a suspect. And how they play with the red herrings, who could it be, how they make you want to feel ways about certain characters, I just thought worked really, really well. And then performance-wise, this whole movie is about Meghann Fahy. She is phenomenal in this movie. Absolutely carries the living heck out of it. She's a great lead. Again, the way her story is structured and the way she delivers the way her story is structured, you are riding with this woman start to finish. You're feeling what she's feeling, how she handles going from first date jitters to anxiety on the date just working to these drops coming in and throwing her off and trying to regain her balance to really driving the anxiety to a different place because her family is at risk. You have this man that you've been talking to for months. You do have a connection with. You don't want to drop that ball. You don't want to hurt them, but you might not have a choice. And at the same time, you are trying to figure out who's doing this so maybe you can get out of it without anybody dying. All of this stuff is just being juggled inside her the whole movie, and how she handles that and shifts into those gears is wildly impressive and is the thing that keeps you engaged. And like I said, then you sprinkle in her backstory and how it changes the tone or the mood or the vibe that her character is going through to reflect things from the past that either she went through or has learned from. It was just jaw-dropping to watch everything that she was doing in the movie, and right now is probably one of my favorite performances of the year. She is so freaking good and really blows everybody else in the movie away. And because of that, I feel maybe a little bad for Brandon Sklenar because I don't love him here. He feels kind of one note most of this movie, and especially in the beginning, like the first act and change, I was just like, oh man, Sklenar's just not finding that gear, and Fahy is really doing everything. I do think that as you get into the second half of the movie, Sklenar does get a little bit better. The things that are going on and just the way the movie is moving gives him a little bit more to do. But I don't get a lot of chemistry from the two of them, which is interesting. And I think if you would have had a more electric spark between these two, the movie could have been even better. But Sklenar, I think, ultimately is fine. He's not bad. He's just fine. And with how good Fahy is, I just wanted a little bit more. And side note, for people who have thrown his name into the fan casting for Batman on the DCU side for Gunn, I don't see it. And I'm going to stick strongly in my Alan Richardson camp there. Side note done. Back to what we're talking about. Sklenar's fine. It would have been nice if he had a matching energy to Fahy, but he does support her in a way that really allows her to flex and just thrive the whole movie. Other folks that are in here, Reed Diamond is a guy who is on a blind date that Violet bumps into at the beginning. Liked everything that was going on with him, thought that was good execution. It was nice to have somebody else going through something similar that she could kind of bounce off of in the movie. Gabrielle Ryan is the bartender, same thing. Thinks she brings the right kind of energy, wants to be somebody that you can trust, but I do think that Landon does a good job of keeping you guessing so much that even the people you think you can trust, there are times where you're like, but can I trust you? And I think Ryan nails that stuff. Jeffrey Self plays the waiter. You want to talk about adding additional anxiety to a first date that has way more anxiety-driven things going on. He does it. I think Matt is a nice guy, but he is just like trying way too hard on his first shift. And it creates an interesting dynamic throughout the course of the movie for Fahy to play off of. So I really enjoyed him. Ed Weeks is the pianist. Not a ton for him. He does come off sleazy, which is, I think, what is expected. But he has an element to him where, like, you want to trust him. You want to hope he's a good guy. And the way they play with him, I thought was interesting. And then Travis Nelson, I think, is the one person that you are constantly going back to where it's like in the room when things are getting sent to sent to Violet's phone, he's the one that's always texting, and he's a really interesting character, the way he operates and how he bumps in casually. And I liked what Nelson was bringing in the movie. And again, like I said, how they play with each of these characters and make you guess if it's them or not and how it plays out is just something I think Landon executes really well and just keeps you on your toes. And then you have Violet Bean and Jacob Robinson, who played Jen, Violet's sister, and Toby, her son. Not a ton for the two of them. They get nice screen time at the beginning, nice screen time at the end, and I really enjoyed Jen. I think she gets the sister assignment, nails it, and is that support that you want Violet to have throughout the course of the night, but doesn't always get because of things that are going on. And Jacob Robinson is just an absolutely adorable child. Like, Toby is so cute and so adorable. It makes you care about him so much, and how he functions in the movie. I just thought there were some cool things for him to do. So I think everybody, for the most part, shows up and delivers with drop. So let's get the C-Maniacs up. Like I said, I think Jillian Jacobs and Chris Roach create an interesting world in the script. The movie feels unique. The idea of using drops, and you're trying to get this person to do something that you can't do by threatening her and her family. It's got elements that feel familiar, but the way they're delivered and played with are unique. I think you set up a character in Violet who's just so strong. Like, there's so many layers to her character. All of it is executed really well and dived into it in a way where you care about her immediately and you are down to ride with her and you feel everything that she is going through. And that just tees up, Meghann Fahy to turn in a tremendous performance. I mean, she carries the whole movie. She really is the whole movie, and far and away the best thing that you're getting on screen at all times. And that's where the twists and the turns and some of the silly things that happen in the movie, you get through them, you get by them because The majority of the script is executed really well, and what Fahy is doing on screen is just so good. And Christopher Landon, I just think, continues to play with horror elements in very strong ways, where the thriller elements, the mystery stuff in this one hit really hard. His visual technique, both how he has the movie being shot and how he uses different graphics and elements around Fahy, create again a very unique experience, and is just a thriller that allows you to have fun even if the anxiety is through the roof the whole movie. So for the Seaman, I'm going 3.5 out of 5 Sea Maniacs. I really dug Drop. Could have been a little bit stronger, I think, if you had slightly stronger supporting characters around Fahy, but Fahy is so freaking good. The idea is so unique, and the ride is so much fun that even where there are some bumpy elements down the back third of the movie, ultimately what we get here is a really good time out at the theater. So 3.5 out of 5 for the Seaman. The question is, what are you thinking? Have you gone and seen Drop yet? If you have, what did you think worked? Did you like all the red herrings? How you play with the whodunit elements? Did you like the tension and the anxiety that is being created in the movie? Did you feel what Violet was feeling throughout the course of the movie? How tied were her? How well executed was that stuff? What did you think of Fahy's performance? And if you haven't seen the movie, is it on your list? Will you go see it out in the theater? Like I said, I think it's totally worth a Dolby watch because the sound design is really good, and just the way the movie looks, it just pops in the Dolby theaters. So are you going to see it in the theater? You're going to wait to see it on streaming? Is this not your cup of tea? What are you thinking? Good? Bad? Indifferent on Drop? Keep it spoiler free, but put it down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the Seaman anytime. We're talking movies, TV, trailer, reactions. We got The Last of Us weekly over here. You want to be here for that. You want to see what we got to say about some other movies we've seen over the last few weeks. You dig the vibe. You want to show a little love and support to the old Seaman. Well, come join Sea Maniac Nation. Super easy. Jump over there. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. Until next time for the Seaman's Cinema. Sit down. I've been the Seaman. I'm signing off. Peace.
Sea Maniac Nation, you look nervous. Is it the scars? Would you like to know where I got them? No? Well, then maybe you'd like to see another video with the Seaman. How about up here or over here? And if you really dig the Seaman, well, then show him a little love right over there.